Straight ahead on 12 News, an expectant mother's routine checkup that turned anything but routine in Brooklyn Park. Plus, state of the cities. Local mayors take a look back and size up what's to come. But first,
you come together and speak in one voice. I think that we have the political muster in this community to do some things.
Local law enforcement joins a unified front against gun violence. 12 News starts right now. As the White House holds national discussions on gun violence, similar words are echoed here at home. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Johnson.
And I'm Alexandra Renslow. Members of law enforcement, prosecutors, lawmakers, and mayors from across the Midwest attended a gun summit on Thursday in downtown Minneapolis. Renee Bonneau joins us with more on what they had to say.
Alex and Mike, this event was scheduled in September of 2011, months before deadly mass shootings in Newtown, Connecticut, Aurora, Colorado, and at Accent Signage here in Minneapolis. Since those tragedies, what was meant to be a fairly intimate meeting between leaders from a few cities grew into a large-scale discussion on the need to keep certain guns off the streets and keep all the guns out of the wrong hands.
This is a very safe neighborhood. Very unexpected.
On September 27th, innocence was shattered just across the border of Golden Valley when an employee at Accent Signage shot and killed 6 people before turning the gun on himself.
You come together and speak in one voice. I think that we have the political muster in this community to do some things.
Using tragedies like the September shooting as a backdrop, lawmakers, law enforcement, city leaders, and prosecutors, some from as far away as Kansas City and Milwaukee, came together in downtown Minneapolis Thursday to share statistics and strategies on how to curb gun violence.
Reducing the violence to zero is a goal.
Brooklyn Center Police Chief Kevin Benner says there are 3 different types of gun violence that need to be addressed. While mass shootings get the most national attention, local law enforcement see cases of young people with guns and domestic violence involving guns on a regular basis.
Hopefully we can impact both the legislature in changing laws that need change, as well as strategies to go after those that are illegally using guns to commit acts of violence.
Our communities are changing. There are more guns than ever in our community. And it's time for us really to wrap our minds around this and think about a holistic approach, both on the pathology of violence, and most importantly, how do we prevent acts of violence from occurring?
While no one expects a one-day summit to provide instant answers, many here say this is the spark that could lead to life-saving solutions.
My purpose of being here is really to learn and be a part of this hopefully a new movement to deal with gun violence in a substantive way.
When asked what they can contribute to today's conversation, Brooklyn Center's police chief says his department has had success curbing crime by keeping close tabs on those with numerous run-ins with police and by targeting so-called hotspots in the city. Brooklyn Park's chief says his city has had success dealing with and preventing violent crime by teaming up with people in the community as well as with other leaders in other cities. Mike?
All right, Renee, thank you. In other news, a Plymouth man is now charged in connection with a high-speed chase that led police through a residential neighborhood in Crystal. Jason Huth is accused of fleeing police on Christmas Day. According to the criminal complaint, the chase reached speeds of 70 miles per hour. The complaint also says Huth ran stop signs and narrowly missed other vehicles before crashing into a retaining wall. Police say they had to subdue Huth with a stun gun. Police say Huth had a blood alcohol level of 3 times the legal limit.
A state investigation of a former Brooklyn Park dump site shows no proof that the site poses a health risk to neighborhoods nearby. That site is where Central Park, the city's operation and maintenance facility, and several commercial properties are now located. The old Brooklyn Park dump was privately owned during the mid-1950s to the mid-1960s. At the time, it accepted city commercial and industrial waste. In recent months, residents contacted various agencies about the possibility that contaminants from the old dump site contributed to their health problems. But soil, air, and water testing showed no evidence to support any concerns.
What's been done here is in protective of human health and the environment, so we don't see any health concerns.
Additionally, the state health department found no evidence of past contamination in city or private wells near the dump site. At this time, no additional cleanup activities are planned.
Meantime, Brooklyn Center has received funding for a previously polluted site. The funding will go toward cleanup at the site where a Lifetime Fitness and a Denny's restaurant used to be. Officials say some of the contamination could be from an old wood treatment facility. Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development awarded Brooklyn Center more than $900,000 in the past year to clean up petroleum and other pollutants on the Lifetime site. That site has since been transformed into a 90,000 square foot industrial building. The new development is expected to create 25 jobs.
Job growth and a housing boom. Those are two of the big highlights for cities like Brooklyn Park and Maple Grove, as area mayors summed up the state of the cities.
We do want to be the job center of the North Metro. We do think that we can put 50,000 jobs in the Highway 610 corridor. We do believe that we are going to lead the Metro in job creation this entire decade.
Brooklyn Park Mayor Jeff Lundy spells out an ambitious plan for the city during Thursday's annual State of the Cities gathering of mayors and the North Hennepin Area Chamber of Commerce. The expansion of Target's northern campus in Brooklyn Park will help bring 4,000 jobs to the area over the next 2 years, and the city is looking to create an additional 50,000 jobs along the Highway 610 corridor in the next 10 years and beyond. In Maple Grove, Mayor Mark Stephenson said the story is building. The number of new homes being built in Maple Grove is among the tops in the metro area, with 3 significant housing developments in the southwestern part of the city. And Maple Grove is also seeing significant business growth, including the expansion of the hospital.
We are going to continue to see significant growth in housing stock in the southwestern part of the city next year, and a significant amount of growth in the downtown Arbor Lakes community area.
Area mayors also cited the future completion of Highway 610 as one of the most significant things that could happen for future growth in the northwestern suburbs. In Brooklyn Center, there are more signs of progress at the Shingle Creek Crossing development. Construction continues on 3 multi-tenant buildings across from Walmart. The company in charge of leasing tenants at the development lists Procuts and Sprint as businesses slated to move in. Brooklyn Center officials also have plans for a Qdoba Mexican restaurant, and construction is also expected to begin soon for a 38,000 square foot LA Fitness, which will be located behind the Holiday gas station.
The TwinWest Chamber of Commerce will have a new president. The chamber has selected Brad Meyer, who has been the president and CEO of the Owatonna Chamber of Commerce for the past 9 years. Meyer replaces Bruce Newstad, who left recently to lead the Minnesota Retailers Association. Meyer says he plans to make a concerted effort to bring new businesses to TwinWest to help meet their goals. Well, coming up, a standout student at Heritage Christian Academy who you could say has a wide array of interests.
And later in sports, Maranatha Christian Academy's girls basketball team is on a roll.
But first, an unusual weather forecast. We could reach 40 degrees on Friday, then a deep freeze arrives over the weekend.
Today's standout student is a leader in student government and on sports teams, not to mention he excels in the classroom.
Brad Basco is a senior at Heritage Christian Academy with an eye on the future, including college and what could end up being a very challenging career.
Just wait. Just you wait.
We caught up with Brad Basco in art class, something he says is a release after everything else he does, which includes taking college credits and advanced placement courses in high school and being in the school's honor society.
Art is something where you don't have to think about it too much. It's more abstract. It's something that you can do without having to have a super great knowledge about it. Cole, it's going to be a masterpiece, an abstract art.
And it's about as far from being a pharmacist as you can get, but that's what Brad has his eye on, and to get there, he's challenged himself in high school.
And once you get to college, I mean, the transition is a lot easier after you've taken some classes that are maybe a little more harder than others. I think challenging yourself is something that can create a lot of different opportunities for you in the future.
And if it's pharmacy he wants, that means extra years of work at the college level, something he's been watching.
He's an excellent student. He's driven. He's been in my office a number of times just making sure things are on track for college.
Brad is also the captain of a highly ranked, undefeated basketball team, and whether it's student government, sports, or mentoring younger students, leadership seems to come naturally.
He's not forceful. He's very humble, and considerate, and that draws people to him in terms of, wanting to listen and being appreciative of what he has to say.
After a sports injury last fall, Brad wasn't saying much during 6 weeks with his jaw wired shut.
Everybody was so supportive when it happened. We found out that he was going to be wired. Like the day after it happened, he wrote thank yous to people for their kindness.
And he says being in a small school where everyone knows your name is a good life lesson.
You go down the hallway, you can say hi to 20 people that you all know, and you all know them first name basis, they all know you, and I really like that about it, the small school aspect, because getting to know people is something that you'll have to do throughout your life.
For college, Brad is looking at the universities of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and North Dakota State. And he has recovered from having his mouth wired shut for 6 weeks. And he doesn't want to go through that again.
Good to clarify.
Tired of soup. Coming up, a patient who provided quite the pleasant surprise at a Brooklyn Park clinic.
But first in sports, Terry Tuma drops a line in his weekly ice fishing tip. John Jacobson has that and more when we come back.
John Jacobson now with sports, and this has all the makings of a great story. You can make a movie out of this, a small school with a great basketball team.
Doing big things, yeah, a couple of state championships already and another fine squad again. It is one of the smallest schools here in the northwest suburbs, but as Jay Wilcox reports, the Maranatha Christian Academy girls basketball team is anything but small time.
The Maranatha dynasty rolls on. After winning back-to-back state Class A championships, the Mustangs are rolling again in the 2012-2013 season. They're 10-2 and ranked third.
I mean, I think we're playing really good. We still have some work to improve on, but we're working hard on the little things in practice and getting done what we need to get done in practice, and hopefully it'll show in the games.
The Mustangs did have 1 week where things didn't go their way, losing back-to-back games to Minneapolis, Roosevelt, and Esco. Not fun, but not the end of the world either.
It was rough losing the games, but it definitely showed us what we need to work on, and that's important early in the season to find out what we need to work on, so by the time we get to state, we'll be prepared.
These teams just brought more than we expected, and we went out with less intensity than we had than I had seen in some time, and I think that was the problem that particular week.
With an experienced group back and led by standouts Osseo and Maddie Lee, there's no doubt this team is thinking championship again.
We're definitely confident that the Lord is going to get us there again. We've been working hard in practice every single day, so we're just working towards it and having faith that it's going to happen for us again.
The goals are the same, to win the section, to win the conference and the regular season and the tournament, the conference tournament, and also to get to state and win the state championship. That is the goal.
And the fun isn't likely to end after this season. Osseo is the only senior on the MCA roster. Jay Wilcox, 12 Sports.
Mustangs coach Jim Hammond had resigned after last season's championship run, was asked to return as coach during the summer months and accepted. Maranatha's next game is Friday night at Uppsala. For just the second time in the last 37 seasons, the University of Minnesota men's basketball team has started the Big Ten season with a 3-0 record. A big reason for the third conference win Wednesday night was the play of sophomore Joe Coleman. The Hopkins High School graduate scored a career-high 29 points in Minnesota's 84-67 win over Illinois. Coleman scored 20 of his points in the second half for the 8th-ranked Gophers. He finished the night 10 of 16 shooting, including 2 3-pointers plus 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Cooper High School graduate Rodney Williams Jr. scored 9 points in the win over the Illini. The Gophers are now 15-1 on the season. They play at 5th-ranked Indiana Saturday morning. And we'll have a story on Rodney Williams Jr. Monday on Sports Jam here on Channel 12. Pro angler tackle Terry Tuma finishes his 2-part series on fishing line today. Here's Terry with his weekly Channel 12 ice fishing tip.
How often should I change line was a question I was just asked again very recently. I think too often we assume that, well, these are novice anglers. They are not. These are sometimes very hardcore anglers. I personally change line at least twice a year with monofilament during the wintertime and more often throughout the summertime, depending how much usage that specific rod and reel get. And then with that too, and here we have a suction cup line holder, or spool holder I should say, where you can apply a certain amount of tension so that line goes on that spool tight. Not super tight, if you will, but just snug. And then two, now you can see we got some line memory here. You want to reverse the spool so it's coming off the opposite direction as it's going on the reel. Do not overfill that spool. It should come up no more than 1/8 of an inch. In fact, a little bit less. And again, if you got a fish that's running a drag system, make sure that your drag is not too tight, obviously, or too loose. But if it's real loose and it's allowed to run, it's going to twist your line. And it's in the wintertime, especially with spring bobbers or whatever, you don't want all this line twist, this line memory. If you do have a lot of line memory on that, with that spool, get it off and put a new section or a whole new line from a different spool, if you will, to get rid of this. Because this memory in the wintertime just becomes a big hassle. Be sure to tune in next week for another tip, and have a great week on the ice.
Thanks, Terry, and we'll see Terry again next week. Coming up on our Channel 12 tips.
All right, thanks a lot, John. Coming up, a patient checkup that produced quite the surprise.
Story a local family will remember forever when we come back. Here's a look ahead to some of what we're following on Friday's 12 News. We'll meet a Plymouth man who is such a regular at a blood donation center that he's given 70 gallons of blood over the years. Plus, in our weekend showcase, Beauty and the Beast Junior takes the stage this weekend in Osseo. We'll meet the players. And in sports, Hopkins and De La Salle are both defending state champions in girls basketball. We'll have highlights from their Thursday night game. Those stories and more right here Friday beginning at 4 o'clock. Oh, finally, a routine checkup turned into anything but routine at a Brooklyn Park clinic on Wednesday afternoon.
Staff members at Hennepin County Medical Center's Brooklyn Park Clinic helped deliver a baby girl named Alea on Wednesday afternoon. The baby's mother, Tiffany Halleck, said she was going in for a routine exam at the clinic after having contractions all morning. Then she unexpectedly went into labor during her visit.
She asked me if I could make it to the hospital. I told her I didn't know the pain was so bad. I was like, I don't know. You figure it out, you're the doctor. And then the fire department got there, and the ambulance never made it there in time, and she was already born, and I was pushing her out, so. And there she was.
Alea weighed in at 5 pounds, 15 ounces. An ambulance eventually took mother and daughter to Hennepin County Medical Center's midwife unit in downtown Minneapolis. Both are able to head home tomorrow, and as you can see, everyone is doing well. So if you're going to have a baby unexpectedly, it's good to be at the clinic, right?
Yeah, better than being at the department store.
Or the gas station,
or
yeah.
gas station or something like that. So she was early, she'll be early the rest of her life.
That's right, that's right. That does it for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Stay with us. Community Corner is coming up next, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow beginning at 4.